And it was a beehive of all of these people who were interested in these small little computers. People that might have been ham radio operators, people that might have worked with large computers.
Ham radio refers to amateur radio, and there's some question about the origin of the ham, but it seems to come from the word amateur. So instead of saying am, you say it's ham. Another explanation is that the word ham came from ham-fisted, which would be a person who is not very good with their hands, where their hands are like hams or like clubs, not very dexterous.
So the person is called clumsy and awkward, right?
Clumsy and awkward use of the hands, yes. And then ham is also used for someone who is a bad actor. You can say he's a ham, or if people are goofing around, you can say they're hamming it up, which means that they're doing things in a funny way, but it's not very talented.
Sometimes if someone makes a parody of someone else, you can say, and they do it in parody is an excessive and exaggerated way, you can say, they are hamming it up.
That's correct, yes. It's not that popular right now. Back in the early days of radio, it was much more popular, where people would try to speak with other people all around the world, typically using a shortwave radio. And in some countries, shortwave radios were considered to be dangerous, because someone could communicate to someone outside the country, or someone could relay information to other parts of the world, which would be against national security.
So today, when in the era of the internet, there's no need for this kind of technology, right? We can communicate to anyone, anywhere, at any time.
That's right. There's no real need for ham radio anymore, unless you really want to do it for some reason. And I'm sure some people still do it as a hobby, yes. There used to be a lot of ham radio operators in the early days of radio, but with the internet, there may still be a few, but not many.
The first face-to-face gathering of personal computer hobbyists from all around the country was this show put on in Atlantic City in 1976, and it was in the basement of some dingy hotel.
Dingy refers to something that is dark and gloomy, and something that looks like it might be dirty, even if it's not. For example, the paint on the walls, it might be very old and streaked and stained, so even after you clean it, it still looks dingy. Or someone might have an old shirt where the collars are stained, and even after they wash the shirt, it still looks dingy.
And in our example, it's a dingy hotel room, and you don't want to stay in a dingy hotel room. Typically, dingy is something small, cramped, dark, like a basement, right?
Right, not very attractive. I don't like to stay in cheap, dingy hotels. I'm willing to pay more in order to stay in a nice room. Once the collars on my shirt start to get dingy, I throw the shirts away.
And is there another word, dingy, which means a small boat?
Yes, there is. And it's spelled exactly the same.
Well, I guess at one point they ran out of words and decided, hey, let's reuse them. Let's call a small boat and a dark basement room the same word, the same terms.
Exactly. Also, a person could be dingy, which means that they are a little crazy, like their head got dented. So if someone is forgetful, you might describe them as dingy. You could say that was a very dingy movie, and that would refer to a movie that was madcap, where it was kind of crazy. For example, the Marx Brothers movies, you might say they were very dingy, which means they were off the wall, very unusual, in a funny, slapstick sort of way. ESL-fullsteamahead.com ESL-fullsteamahead.com